So picture this. It is 1989. You are at Augusta National.
Oh, the Masters.
Exactly, the Masters sudden death playoff. And Scott Hotch is standing on the 10th green. He is exactly 24 inches away from winning the whole thing and putting on that legendary green jacket.
Wow. 2 feet. That's just a tap in.
Right, just 2 feet. The announcers have practically called it already. The crowd is standing there, holding its breath, completely ready to applaud. And, well, he misses.
Oh, yeah.
He pushes it completely past the hole. I mean, it is the kind of mind-bending, unforced error that would embarrass a weekend amateur, let alone a touring professional on literally the biggest stage in the sport.
Yeah, that is rough. Just brutal.
So he ends up handing the win to Nick Faldo, and that miss, it becomes this permanent part of his legacy.
Which is so unfair, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Right. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at this incredibly dense, fascinating collection of notes today to answer what is arguably the ultimate question, like what actually determines how your life goes.
Because, we all have our default answers to that, don't we? I mean, most of us instinctively point to natural talent.
Or circumstance, like where you were born or the economy when you graduated.
Exactly. We treat life like this lottery where the winning numbers are basically drawn before we even show up.
But the stack of research we are unpacking today completely upends that entire worldview. It is this eclectic mix. We've got 18th century statesmen, Zen parables, ancient theology.
Football coaches.
Right, Hall of Fame football coaches. And yes, some of the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking moments in professional golf history. And they all converge on this one conclusion. It isn't talent. It isn't circumstance. It is character.
It's a brilliant synthesis, really, because it forces this profound reframing of how we view struggle. The overarching theme here is that difficulty, well, it isn't an obstacle blocking your path to a meaningful life. Difficulty is the raw material.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even get to the construction phase of that life, these sources insist on this precondition.
Right, knowing who is actually driving the car.
Exactly. We have to figure out who is in control. So our notes bring in the author Robert Greene, and he is channeling Lord Chesterfield, which he was an 18th century statesman.
Oh, right, the letters to his son.
Yeah, and Chesterfield's advice is this highly practical, tactical warning. He says, basically, never underestimate anyone, never trust mere appearances, and never rely on a gut instinct when you can get concrete knowledge.
Which sounds almost ruthlessly pragmatic, like Machiavellian, right?
Totally.
Well,
He basically argues you should treat every single person as if they might, at some point, have it in their power to be of use to you.
but what's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism. It's not just about using people. It is about overcoming our own cognitive blind spots. I mean, we constantly filter the people around us based on their immediate, obvious utility to us.
We take mental shortcuts.
Yes, mental shortcuts.
Mhm.
And Chesterfield is warning that when you rely on those shortcuts, you miss the actual reality of the board you are playing on. You're basically driving blind. But navigating other people's hidden depths, I mean, it doesn't matter at all if you are completely oblivious to your own. That outward attention has to be balanced with inward attention.
Which perfectly sets up this incredible parable from Anthony de Mello. He was a Jesuit priest and a psychotherapist, and he describes life as this incredibly powerful, high-performance motor car.
A great analogy.
Right. It has the capacity to take you anywhere. But instead of getting behind the wheel, most people just walk out to the driveway, lie down squarely in front of the tires, let the car roll completely over them, and then have the sheer audacity to blame the car for their broken legs.
It is such an absurd image, but I mean, it captures the pathology of victimhood perfectly.
It really does.
We assign our own suffering to forces outside our control because psychologically that is just so much easier than admitting we hold the keys. So Greene warns us against ignorance about others, and de Mello warns us against ignorance about ourselves.
It's like we are sitting in the passenger seat of our own lives, complaining about the destination, totally refusing to realize we have the steering wheel right in front of us.
Yeah, exactly.
And Shakespeare hammered this home in Julius Caesar. He wrote, "It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves." Like, the stars, the circumstances, the economy, those aren't the story. You are the story.
And you cannot discover that story in a vacuum. There's another brilliant line in Julius Caesar, spoken from the battlefield. He says, "Experience is the teacher of all things."
Which means you can't learn from the experience if you refuse to have it.
Right. If you spend your life dodging difficulty, just insulating yourself from any possibility of failure, You remain a mystery to yourself.
Yeah, you only learn the limits of the machine by actually pushing it.
Exactly.
But realizing you are the pilot, that is only step one. The next logical step is you actually have to put the car in drive and get on the track. Which brings us to Tony Dungy.
The football coach, right. He has that great observation about racing fans.
Yeah. He contrasts the people who actually drive race cars with the super fans sitting in the stands. You have these fans who follow every qualifying heat. They study every practice lap.
They probably know the torque specs of the engines.
Oh, absolutely. They possess this encyclopedic knowledge of the race, but they never, ever get on the track themselves.
Right. They substitute information for action, which, honestly, we see everywhere today.
But wait, let me push back on that a bit, because isn't all that studying actually a good thing? I mean, why is the quote-unquote planning stage framed as a trap here?
That's a fair question.
I mean, if you are going to race, shouldn't you know the track conditions? I know people who've been researching a side hustle or a novel for like 3 years without writing a single page. Is the preparation itself inherently bad?
Well, no, preparation is vital. But it becomes a trap when it serves as an emotional shield against vulnerability.
Okay.
The illusion is that if you just gather enough data, study long enough, you can eliminate the risk of failure. But you can't.
You're always going to face that risk.
Exactly. And the Apostle Paul lays out the unchangeable biology of this in the book of Romans, chapter 5.
Yeah.
He writes this specific sequence. He says, trials produce endurance. Endurance produces character. And character produces confident hope.
Trials, then endurance, then character, then hope.
That is the sequence. Notice what is completely missing from that list.
The studying part.
Right. There's no shortcut where studying the racetrack produces character. It is a structural necessity. It's much like physical hypertrophy.
Like building muscle.
Yeah, you literally cannot build muscle without first exposing the fibers to the stress of a heavy weight, which causes micro tears. The trial is the heavy weight.
So the person who stays perpetually in the planning stage, waiting for perfect conditions, they avoid the micro tear.
Exactly. Because they avoid the trial, they never develop the endurance. And without the endurance, the character never forms.
You just have this pristine, unused muscle.
Rita McEntire actually sums this up with a great folksy formula. She says to succeed, you need 3 things. A wishbone, a funny bone, and crucially, a backbone. A backbone. I like that.
Yeah, the wishbone is your direction, your vision. The funny bone is having the perspective to not take yourself too seriously. But the backbone, that's the non-negotiable willingness to enter the arena and take the hit.
Because taking that step guarantees you will encounter fear. But there's that anonymous quote in our research notes. Courage is fear that has said its prayers.
Oh, I love that.
Courage is not the magical absence of terror. You are going to be terrified. Courage is feeling that terror and putting the car in drive anyway.
Here is where it gets really interesting, though, because if you have the backbone to get on that track, the mathematical certainty is that you will eventually crash.
You will, unavoidably.
And our sources argue that how we process that inevitable crash, that failure, is the exact mechanism that actually builds the character we just talked about. Which brings us back to those agonizing golf statistics.
Golf really is a unique psychological torture chamber, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, because it's entirely self-initiated. There's no pitcher throwing a ball at you. There's no clock running down. Just you, a stationary ball, and silent, suffocating expectation of millions of people watching.
Right. So we talked about Scott Hoch missing that 2-footer in 1989.
Yeah. But it's not just him. You have Doug Sanders at the 1970 Open Championship. He misses a 3-footer, something he probably makes 99 times out of 100 in practice. He misses, falls into a playoff, and loses to Jack Nicklaus.
Just agonizing.
Or go back to 1946, Ben Hogan misses a tiny short putt at the Masters and loses to Herman Kaiser and Sam Snead. In the 1947 U.S. Open, he gets rattled by a rules query right before a stroke, misses the critical putt, and never wins a U.S. Open for his entire career.
I mean, these are brutal, career-defining moments of massive public suffering. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the deeper psychological insight here is that these are not actually stories of failure.
Wait, really? How are they not failures?
Because these are stories of a very specific, elite kind of suffering that is only accessible to people who were brave enough and competent enough to be standing over a championship putt in the first place.
Ah, okay. They didn't stay in the stands with the racing fans.
Exactly. They did not. And to explain how a human being recovers from crash like that, the sources pivot from sports to an ancient spiritual blueprint, the Apostle Peter.
Right.
Here's a figure who, at the absolute moment of maximum danger, denies even knowing Christ 3 times. He does it to save his own skin. It is the ultimate shameful exposure of cowardice. And yet that same man is the one who becomes the foundational rock of the early church.
Which is wild because, I mean, so does failing on the biggest stage just make you a failure with a good story. If I fail on a massive public stage, my instinct isn't, great, I'm ready to lead. My instinct is to move to a cabin in the woods and change my name.
Right, just disappear. But the mechanism of recovery is described in 2 Corinthians 5.17. It's this theological idea that the old order vanishes and everything becomes fresh and new.
Yeah. Okay, but psychologically, how does that work?
Psychologically, what happens when you hit rock bottom on a public stage is that your ego is completely destroyed. The false bravado burns away. You have survived your absolute worst-case scenario.
The nightmare actually happened.
Yes. And once you survive the thing you were most terrified of, this bizarre freedom emerges. You realize the failure didn't actually kill you.
So the missed putt doesn't set a permanent ceiling on your potential.
Exactly. I mean, look at the Kevin Kelly quote from the notes. Talent is distributed unfairly, but there is no limit on how much we can improve what we start with. The missed putt isn't the conclusion. It is merely preparation.
Yeah, let's look at the aftermath of those golfers. Scott Hoch didn't just fade away after 1989. He went on to win 8 PGA tournaments.
And Sam Snead missed that crucial putt, but he won 82 PGA Tour events.
82. That's incredible.
Failure didn't define them, it galvanized them, because those accumulated failures, and specifically our responses to them, are what ultimately forge our identity. They construct our fate.
Let's talk about that construction, because we have an incredible historical example in the notes today about forging that identity. It's about the Southern novelist Walker Percy.
Right, back in the 1930s.
Yeah, so Percy is in college, and he is just spiraling, struggling, failing academically, deeply depressed. He is buckling under the massive expectations of his very aristocratic, high-achieving family.
He's the guy lying in front of the motor car.
Exactly. So he receives a letter from his uncle, Will Percy, who raised him. And you'd expect a harsh lecture, right? Like, get your act together.
Or a threat to cut off his tuition.
Right. But instead, Will Percy outlines this complete philosophy of human existence. He tells his nephew that public glory and worldly accomplishment are actually completely irrelevant. What matters is the creation of character and living the individual good life.
It is a radical paradigm shift. Ryan Holiday analyzes this exchange and confirms that ancient Stoic insight. Character is fate. It isn't your inherited talent that determines your life. It's your character.
And the vital distinction here is that character is not a genetic lottery ticket.
No, not at all. It is constructed slowly under immense pressure.
It's like a house you build brick by brick. Every single missed putt, every public humiliation, every storm you weather that is just mortar for the bricks.
That is a great way to visualize it. And there is a profound 3-word anonymous formula highlighted in the notes for how you lay those bricks. Believe, behave, become.
Believe, behave, become.
It's a progression.
Yeah.
Your convictions shape your actions, and your sustained actions eventually, inevitably, reshape your identity. And Joseph Campbell layers onto this perfectly.
Oh yeah, Campbell has that great take on society.
He argues that we obsess over rearranging the external world. We want to change the structures, change the rules of the game. But Campbell says the world isn't saved by rearranging structures. It's saved by aliveness.
Aliveness.
Yes. He writes, find in your own case where the life is and become very alive yourself. You cannot fix the external world until you have forged that internal character through your own trials.
So what does this all mean? We have to lay the bricks. We have to endure the storm. But we also have to acknowledge the tension in these sources, right?
Yeah. We have to be careful not to cross over into toxic positivity.
Exactly. They aren't pretending everything is easy or that every failure feels good. The world is genuinely hard. Putts are missed. People will deceive you.
The storm is very real. But as that anonymous quote says, without rain, nothing grows. Learn to embrace the storms of your life.
Embrace the storms.
It doesn't ask you to enjoy the rain. It just asks you to recognize its utility. Paul's trials produced endurance. Peter's catastrophic betrayal produced the empathetic leader the early church needed.
And Walker Percy's crippling college depression produced one of the most perceptive novelists of the 20th century.
It all comes down to focus, because how small things become big things is through focus. It is the sustained attention that metabolizes a painful experience into deep wisdom.
You have to be awake at the wheel.
Which leads us to the final, unifying image of this entire deep dive. It is an epigraph from Kobe Bryant. A man who understood obsession, failure, and character better than almost anyone.
What did he say?
He said, "You may tire on the road. It may grow dark. Rest if you must, but never give up. Walk until darkness is a memory and you become the sun on the next traveler's horizon."
Wow. Become the sun on the next traveler's horizon.
It gives you chills, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because of the quiet power of it. I mean, think about the sun. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give a motivational speech.
Yeah.
It simply rises day after day for one undeniable reason. It's survived the night.
It survived the night.
Kobe is pointing out that the simple act of not giving up is itself the light for others. You just have to endure the process.
You rest if you must, but you keep going. So, as we wrap up today, I want to leave you, the listener, with a specific thought to mull over.
I love this.
I want you to think about your own agonizing 2-foot putt. Think about that specific failure or that heartbreak that felt like the absolute end of your story.
The one you still cringe at.
Right, the
Yeah.
one that keeps you up at 2 a.m. Now look at it through the lens of everything we've uncovered today. How might that exact specific heartbreak be the exact thing uniquely qualifying you to be the sun on another traveler's horizon today?